Well, hello there, bitches.
Hey.
And people who are not bitches, I'm sorry. Well, some I was like, hey.
I hope y'all said hey back. And yeah, listen, I feel like at this point, because every time you like greet our audience as bitches, I find myself being like, oh my God. And then I'm like, they still come back and listen. So clearly they don't mind. So
I ain't gonna fight me. You know you like it. I sound I sound abusive, but you know you
you
like it. Anyway, welcome back to the Good Up podcast. It's yet another week of us being fucking fabulous and looking fucking good. So we're excited to have you here. Thank you all for continuing to listen. Um, if we are in the car with you right now on your way to walk, I hope you have a good ass day.
I hope
I
so
hope
too.
you have the day you deserve. I hope
Honestly.
every coworker who don't piss you off call out. I hope, matter of fact, I hope that for some reason they can't get a plumbing together in the building for you to walk and your boss just tell you to go home.
Can I just say, I hope that the coworker who pisses you off gets fired. If they actually no, let me take that back. Whoa, I can't be praying on people's downfall like that. Like, because the coworker that'll piss you off might be a bitch that you jealous of. Shout out to our jealousy
Damn.
episode. So never mind. Never mind.
I
'Cause
just hope they call out. I hope you don't have
yeah,
to interact with a person
yeah, yeah,
today.
yeah, yeah. Let's go with a call out instead. Or yeah, because oh, it might be somebody just really just doing their own thing, minding their business, right? And then they just
Right.
piss you
You might be the
off.
hater, but I still hope you don't have to interact with them today, you
No,
know?
imagine me praying out somebody don't fall off. They don't even deserve that shit.
Either way, we hope I have a great day. Thanks for starting your day with us. I hope I sound good like fuck on your car speakers.
Same, same.
Same for I mean, Deidre sound good. Deidre look good. If you can't see Deidre or
Just
my
pay
very
the
cool
dollar. Just pay
blue
the
box be
fucking
weird.
dollar.
Exactly.
Because
Pay the dollar. Cause Deidre will come in here looking snatched every single week. I've been buying all of these fun shirts for Ayo to read while I
and y'all,
recording.
hair says light color changes every week.
Exactly.
It's so
I'm
fun. And
blue
hair
this
says
week.
curls. Hair is fine as fuck. Her curls be juicy and popping. It's like every day is wash day for hair. I mean, I'm sure she's not washing her curls every single day, but her curls be
No.
looking like it.
No, I done day two, and day two is like the best day for calls.
Period.
So yeah, shout out to y'all. This
Yes.
week, y'all know we always start the show off with our two interesting new segments. The first one is spotted being good up. This is for anybody who we were impressed by, proud of, you just being good up for no reason. We decided to shout you out on a pod. So Deidre, do you have a person who was spotted being good up this week?
I'm just gonna throw this out here. The school bus driver at Dylan's school for the bus that brings him to and from the neighborhood. As you guys know, we are suburban now. We are not like city folk anymore. And I just love Dylan's bus driver. Like he's considerate. He seems to take his job very seriously, and that means a lot for me because my anxiety be on 1,000 when that boy is not in my immediate, like if he's not glued to my hip, I'll be worried. And I feel like my child is safe with the school bus driver. So thank you to that gentleman who gets my
Period.
baby to and from school safely. He did the sweetest thing today, which I mean, it's like a basic human gesture, but it just made me feel so special, you know? Um, he usually like when he's dropping Dylan off, so I have to cross the street so Dylan can be picked up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it's time to pick Dylan up, I don't have to cross. I just stay on my side of the street. And then when he's dropping Dylan off, he goes past me, he drops some other kid off, turns around, and then he comes to drop Dylan off in front of me. But because it was raining today, instead of like making me wait in the rain, he dropped Dylan off like earlier than normal. And he was like, I didn't want you standing in the rain. And I'm like,
That's so nice.
that's a nice
That's
because
so nice.
he could have done what he normally does, which is go down the street, drop off that other child. But he's like, no, I'm gonna just drop him off now so you don't have to be standing in the rain much longer. And I'm like,
I
you
love that.
human. And I fucks with that. So that's who I caught being good up.
Shout out to you, bus driver. And shout out to
Yes.
Mr. Sam, who used to ride bus number 21 on St. Croix
Oh,
during my childhood. That was my favorite bus driver ever. He was so nice.
very
Um,
nice.
very, just you'd always notice when people and I don't even know if he had loved his job, but he had loved the kids and he was so nice to us. So shout
Yeah.
out to Mr. Sam. And my people being good up who was spotted being good up this week. I call them the space cadets, aka the space pioneers. These are all of the Virgin Islanders who will be on the Twitter spaces, but specifically the space cadets actually are a group of us who have stayed connected, who have our little group chat. Like we're the closer friend group.
Yeah.
And I love them bad, but specifically they were spotted being good up because I needed some ideas for a piece of content that I was working on this month. A lot of you have seen
Mm,
our Virgin Islands history videos every day. If you have not noticed, I have been saying 5 things every day. The month of March has 31 days,
that's a
has
lot here,
31 days.
Isa.
So coming up with 5 things specific to the Virgin Islands to say every day was not easy. And that
Mm.
friend group, I was like, I need help. And they were like, oh, do this, do this. They were so excited to take part. So shout out to the Space Cadets. Love y'all. But also shout out to them because they have been a big source of joy for me. Like the group chat to be
Aw,
hilarious. And I've been so busy at work that I haven't really been able to engage, but being able to like read through the stupid ass conversations really
I'm
makes me happy.
screaming.
So shout out to
Shout out
them.
to them. Love y'all.
You were spotted being good up. All right.
Hey, love that.
So our next segment is the hill we're dying on. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with this segment, I don't know why you would be, but essentially this is when Deidre and I talk about things that we firmly believe in. We are planting ourselves on this hill. We plan to die here, and you are not going to change our minds.
Yeah.
So, do you have a hill you're dying on this week?
So this is an interesting hill. I don't know for sure that I'm going to die on it, but I'm definitely going to probably like have an unhealed broken foot on it, or I might like
Mm.
pass out and be resuscitated kind of vibe. So obviously it's Virgin. I mean, this might not air during VI History Month. It's probably not. Anyway, Virgin Islands History Month has made me realize that people are very audacious with this whole tart thing. The tart wars thing has been going on for a while, right? I'm not gonna sit here and like bash anybody, about their tart preferences. I think that everybody's entitled to like whatever they like. I
Unless
have
you like pineapple tart.
Thank you. And that's where I was going with this. I developed a tolerance for coconut tart because the guava tart would always run out first, right? And so I actually really love coconut, just in general, just coconut, period. I love coconut. So I don't mind coconut tart. It's pretty good. Um, I went through a big chunk of my life liking guava and coconut equally because, again, at all the family functions, the guava would run out first. I don't know why whichever auntie was responsible wouldn't just order extra guava, but whatever. Um, so as a child, I developed a liking to coconut, or at least a tolerance for it, because I would never be able to reach the guava fast enough. Fine. So, as people really started taking this seriously and were like, choose a favorite tart flavor. I'm like, oh, I like guava and coconut. They like, choose one. And I'm like, guava, girl, like, because guava is like
Yeah, I have we out
chef's
here
kiss.
repping our set, which is crazy.
Yeah. However, what I'm not going to do is sit here and watch people on Blue Ivy Carter's braids internet, because her braids be fucking popping. I'm not going to sit here and watch y'all act like pineapple tart should even be in the conversation. That's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to sit here and watch people be like, pineapple tart is the best.
Justice for pineapple tart. If pineapple
And
tart deserved justice, it
and
would have
here's the
had it.
thing. My favorite fruit actually is pineapple, believe it or not. Not cooked pineapples, not baked pineapples, fresh pineapple. Put that shit in a pina colada. Put it in your fruit salad, right? Eat it fresh. Put it on a pineapple upside down cake. Baby, don't put it in no motherfucking tart. I'm not going to die on the hill, but maybe I'll like pass out on the hill and then everybody's terrified that I died. And then like somebody just be like, oh, girl, just hit her with the EpiPen and I'm alive again. But we're not going to sit here and act like pineapple tart should even be. I
No,
genuinely believe that whoever created pineapple tart was just, I don't even know. Like,
that's the thing. I eat all three. I do. I eat all three. I actually don't mind pineapple tart, but it's not that girl. It's not
no.
pineapple tart is not good enough for Ayo to have your own team. Pineapple tart is just okay. Guava and coconut, I understand the beef. I understand why
No,
they're part of that
hello.
conversation.
Because the thing with coconut tart, it's easy to not like coconut tart if you only ever had like dry coconut tart, right? It's easy to be like coconut tart because it be having some good ass
Yeah,
coconut tart out there. We're not gonna like
yeah.
it's very possible for a coconut tart to be too dry to not, you know what I mean? So it's a fine. And then some people apply a little bit too much almond essence, and it's just like the coconut tart. You have to be real talented to make some good coconut tart. Because I know good coconut tart. Okay, I like guava and coconut equally. But if I have to choose one because y'all are such fucking violent gangsters, I gonna have if like the girlies went in on me when I was like, oh, I like them equally. They was like, gun to your head, and you need to pick one. And I was like, fine, guava, because the guava is always what to reach for first.
No, but in my opinion, I think so it's kind of like when people are having like a Rihanna versus Beyonce debate.
First of all, ew.
No, but hear me out. I respect it because I'm not saying I'm Team Rihanna in terms of artistry or whatever, but in terms of just like how
Global
largeness,
impact.
yeah, as an
Global, okay.
artist, I could see why the two of them is part of the same conversation. Now here
Mm.
comes Taylor Swift, and you're just like, why are you here?
Taylor Swift
Who
is pineapple tart.
who let you in? Exactly. That's
You know what?
Pineapple Tart is Taylor Swift.
You know what? You ate that one little thing. Happy Virgin Islands History Month, regardless of
You
when
know, I
you're
was like,
listening to this.
you ate that.
You did. You did. You
So
did.
that's the hill that Deidre is dying on.
Not dying, passing out.
Passing out,
It's like a
EpiPen,
death scare kind of vibe. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, she
Yeah.
on the hill.
I'm definitely on a hill.
In my hill over here, I'm firmly dying. On this hill. Wavy hair is not fucking curly hair. It is not curly hair. And I
What?
need you wavy haired bitches to get off a curly hair TikTok. You don't belong here. Sure, you can practice our hair routines, and I see that your waves are a little bit more popping, but it'll piss me off. Every time I get on TikTok and somebody say, I think I may have curly hair. Let's do a curly hair routine. And then they'll be like, oh my God, I did have curly hair. And their hair have two little bumps to it. It is a little suave.
It's
A
body wave.
curl, a curl by definition is a curl, not a fucking wave.
I'm screaming.
So you wavy hair bit. I know I want to be part of the conversation because curly hair and natural hair has come to the forefront. The girls' curls are popping, all of the shit. I'm not trying to be elitist with it. I just trying to get you to tell the truth. Okay? You
Yeah.
do not have curly hair.
Well, while
Your
I'm at
hair
it,
looks like a
oh,
crimper went through it, not a curling iron. A
well,
crimper.
to piggyback on that, since we're going there, stop tagging the 4C hashtag if you have type 3 hair. Because what you're doing is you're essentially I don't know if it's extorting or whatever. You're stealing views from actual 4C
And,
content
and,
creators, and you're
and
wasting my
somehow
time.
you damn well know you don't have
You
4C
don't have
hair.
4C hair. It's a big part of why I've fully divested from like hair content. I didn't even know I was subscribed to Sharea's YouTube channel because I divested from hair content because, and that's not saying she does that, let's be clear, but I went to look at her sacred hair review or product review, and I was like, oh shit, I forgot I subscribed to her channel because I don't even bother looking for hair content anymore because every time I search for like 4C content, I'm seeing somebody with hair like hey Isaac
They'll be out here
like doing a
lying.
wash routine. And I'm like, is it me? Am I the drama? So I just got to the point where I just was like, fuck it. Like, I'd
And
rather just
also, while I'm at it, I'm so sorry to cut you off.
no, you're fine. You're
If you
fine.
do not have 4C hair, please stop coming and I gonna rile the girls up. If you do not have 4C hair, stop making these motivational ass Instagram reels and TikToks about how you don't get discriminated against because of your hair texture. Bitch,
I'm
please.
coming to your hill. Fuck my hill. I'm coming to your hill.
You are not
Because
being discriminated against with 3C hair. I am
yeah,
so sorry.
not.
You're like, yeah, and don't get me wrong, yes, you probably are experiencing microaggressions from white people because they just can't help it. I have definitely had white people stick their hands in my hair, but nobody has ever told me that my threes, I don't even know what my texture is, but that my hair is messy. Nobody has
Yeah,
ever
no.
told me that my hair is unkempt. So stop that bullshit if you
Yeah,
do not have
no.
4C hair.
Period. Your grandma was the baby.
It's giving reverse colorism. Shut the fuck up.
Baby girl, don't even get me started on that. But let's get into this episode because now I know last week you gave me the opportunity to introduce the show, right?
Yes.
And I didn't take it, and I'm probably still not going to take it, but I do want the opportunity to say,
Introduce it. Go ahead.
baby,
What's today? What's today? What's today?
no, this is our 100th episode. Like, what the heck?
Period.
I don't understand. Like, who are these girls? 100 episodes, hey, Isa?
100. 100.
That's
Period.
crazy. I'm so grateful. I'm proud. I'm in love, all of it. And like, I think this is like the perfect season for us to be having our 100th episode. We're in season 10. I feel like our quality continues to improve every single season.
Period.
We got all these sponsors. Shout out
Period.
to y'all.
Hey, sponsors.
We should we should we use this episode to
Yes.
I mean yeah?
Yes.
I feel like the information
Yes.
is probably out already by now. Yeah, no? What do you think?
Yes. And if it's not, I go edit this.
Okay. So not only it's season 10, right? This is our 100th episode. We are literally in the process of planning our first ever live event.
Period.
Like, what?
And where is it happening, Deidre?
It's happening in the A, right here in the city of Atlanta. I don't know that I can refer to myself as a Georgia peach just yet. I'm still a girl from Jersey. Well, I'm not from Jersey, but I still feel like a Jersey girl. So I won't say that it's like happening in my city because this is not my city, but this is the city that graciously let me move here, along with the other million people who moved here last week.
Yeah, and Atlanta is where a large portion of our audience lives. Shout out to y'all.
Yes, we have a lot of Virgin Islanders here. So we felt like it was only and just to be clear, even if I hadn't moved here, we were still gonna have our first live event in Atlanta.
In Atlanta,
like,
yeah.
So
it was always going to be Atlanta.
It was always going to be Atlanta. I happened to push up my move a lot faster. And so yeah, it's happening in Atlanta. Literally, today, at the time of recording this, I was like texting with, our homegirl who's helping us sort it out. I don't know if she wants to be named just yet, so I'm gonna save that for now.
We're gonna name her at the event.
We're gonna name her at the event. But either way, like, hey, okay, let me just ask you, when you was sitting in your closet calling it the Beautiful People podcast, did you envision this? What we're experiencing in this very moment? Did you envision that for the period?
No.
Your grandma was the baby.
I said it. We got interviewed a couple of weeks ago for the Virgin Islands Source. Shout out to Gabrielle for making that happen. And she asked us a similar question, and I remember sharing with her, like, I literally started recording the podcast because I wanted to express some things that I was experiencing, and I wanted to see if other people were experiencing the same thing. And I like hearing other people's stories. That was really it. And a couple of days ago, I was putting together like the first episode of the season, like the ads came together for the first time, and I was doing a full listen through, and I got this, like, when I tell you it was the most sickening chill that just like run down my back, because I was like, holy shit. Like, how did we get from literally recording in my closet and be like, oh, this is gonna be fun, to the Virgin Islands Lottery is the title sponsor of the Good Up podcast. Like, can we just add that the only reason this live event is happening is because we have the support and sponsorship of the Virgin Islands Lottery? Like,
indeed, literally, because we once we started structuring sponsorship opportunities, we knew that when we got a title sponsor is when we would be in a position to host a live event.
Exactly.
And baby, VI Lottery, can we also just
hey boo,
this is like a testament to, like, there was no heckling involved, right? There was none of that. It was, we want to support y'all. What does that look like? It was the Mia Hey Isaac convening on our end, sending them what support opportunities look like, and them saying, this is what we want to do. Like, and they chose the top tier. There was no question, nothing. They just were like, here you go. So the thing is when you know your worth, people act accordingly, right? But even if me and Heiza didn't know our worth, baby, y'all know our like y'all like you guys, the listeners, VI Lottery, like our all of our sponsors, really. You guys, y'all know what we doing over here. Like
Yeah. I'm
this is
I'm very grateful for where we are and for the fact that every sponsor that we have is a genuine like business that believed in the show and wanted to
yeah,
support the show and came to us and we have a sponsor who even like came to us before we had all our ducks in a row for what
yeah,
sponsorship could look like.
yeah,
Shout out to Empath. And yeah, we're here. We're planning our first live event. Deidre is
yeah.
really at the helm of all of that. Like, I can't wait to see the vision come to life. I'm so excited to like party with Ayo. This is something y'all have been asking for. So
Yes.
if you happen to be in the Atlanta area, that event is coming up. If you're not in the Atlanta area and you feel like traveling to come hang with Good Up for a while for the first live show, like come true. Come
If
true.
you're like a few hour drive away, come on through. If you want to
Yeah.
hop on a Spirit flight, baby, come see us. Come party with us. It's gonna be fun.
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna be together. It's gonna be everything you get in an episode of the show, but it's gonna be live.
And
So
more.
it's gonna be way more. It's gonna be like an episode on steroids.
Yep.
Right? We're gonna be chatting with each other. We're gonna be chatting with y'all. Okay. It's gonna be a really good time. It's a great like opportunity to network as well, because it's not just gonna be y'all listening to us talk, right?
Yep.
If you and this is also an ideal event. If you ain't got nobody to come with, baby, come by yourself. You're gonna leave with a
Yeah.
friend, I promise. Like, come on through. It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect way to start the episode. Again, we're celebrating 100 episodes of Good Up, meaning if you ain't caught up yet, you have at least 50 to go back and listen to.
Minimum, like,
There's
hello.
so many good episodes to choose from over the years. Again, this is over the course of almost 5 years.
Yeah.
We have talked about everything from our parents, our childhoods, love and relationships, mental
Yeah.
health, colonialism, being from the Virgin Islands. Like, y'all, we have talked about literally everything to the point where sometimes I'd try to plan a season and be like, have we talked about that yet? And I'd have to go back and look at it, other episodes. Um, so with that being said, this episode is called The Things We Learned from Each Other because in that time, me and Deidre have learned so much about each other, about life, about
Mhm.
ourselves. So we're gonna take time to reflect in this episode, but we're also gonna take time to essentially give each other flowers about how we've, gotten here. So
Mhm.
I guess my first question for you is what is the biggest shift that has happened in your life
Mhm.
because of the podcast?
You know what the biggest shift would be me telling people what I have going on, if that makes sense. I'm not usually and I'm getting better at that. I'm still not like all the way there. But for those of you who do not know, I'm actually not an extrovert by any means. I'm good at presenting on the show. I'm good at having conversations, right? Because being an introvert doesn't mean you don't know how to hold a conversation. It just means that you don't like going out and welcoming people in. So I'm actually an introvert. That being said, I have not been the best at like promoting myself. So even like as of late, people are shocked when they find out that I'm on a podcast. And then when they're like, okay, tell me about this podcast, I tell them about it. But because I love the podcast so much, that's where like I get so excited and I start talking about it. And they're like, what the fuck? Like, so then like they're like, well, send me the link. Let's talk about it. But that's been the biggest shift is me being more outward with just promoting what I'm working on. And right now, like my priority is the podcast, you know? So and as I grow, I'm obviously going to take that with me, right? It's not just going to be about the podcast, it's everything that I'm working on. Like the things I'm working on for my own business, I think because of the podcast, it's going to get I guess I'll get more comfortable going outward and talking about what I'm doing. If that makes sense, that's the best shift I can think of. Because normally in everything that I do, I like to make it amazing and let it attract people to me. And just my approach has always been to do it well. And when people it's gonna reach the people it's meant to reach, and when they come, they're never gonna want to leave. But now I'm starting to shift into Yeah, I'm gonna always continue to attract people to whatever I'm working on, but I'm also gonna start saying, "Hey, y'all, this is what I'm working on. Come check it out." You know what I mean? So I'll get there, but yeah, that's the biggest shift for me. How about you?
I think for me, two things. One, anybody who has listened from the very beginning could definitely see where this has happened. My like emotional intelligence and like my ability to connect with other people. Like I've gone from somebody who, when I started the podcast, I really did not have a lot of like close friendships, especially with women. I was starting to realize when I start the podcast how much I had to heal from. And
Mm,
throughout the course of the podcast, the podcast is my healing journey. And I'm not
mm,
healed by any sense, but I think being on the podcast and being accountable to the
mhm,
podcast
mm,
made me so consistent with therapy and with being a better person and with really like pouring into myself and my life. And it's not perfect all the time by any means, but
mhm,
I don't see myself having done that without the show.
mm,
Like I one thing about me is I if I feel like I full of shit, I don't internalize it. So I
mm.
can't come out here and talk about therapy and knowing that I avoid in therapy.
Damn, you know
Or
what? Shout out to that. I just want to take a
yeah.
second to shout that the fuck out because it's so many people, and this is specific to content creators
Mm,
who be in these fucking streets, right? Talking the talk, but not walking the walk.
yeah.
Even like, I don't think that the trad wife girlies be making every single thing from scratch all the
Mm-mm,
time,
they don't.
right? Like, and don't get me wrong. I used to be a from scratch girly, right? But it's physically impossible to make
Hmm.
every single thing you eat from scratch, right? And I I just love that you're like, yo, I would be a fucking hypocrite if I'm in these streets
Yeah.
talking about therapy if I'm not going to therapy. So shout out to
And
that.
not even just therapy. Like this podcast has really taught me the meaning of radical honesty.
Mm.
Because one thing about this show is my siblings are listening. My niece is
Yeah.
probably listening. My
Hey,
mother
girl.
has listened to this show. There's people who listen to this show who know me and who know my life. So I approach this show with such a level of transparency and honesty that I
Mm.
don't take to other places in my life. Like I don't be out here really telling my people my business like that for real. But something about this room and this
Yeah.
mic and us talking to each other has made me so
Yeah.
comfortable with speaking about things in my life that I used to feel shame about. I think
Mm.
that's the other part of it too, is I don't
Yes.
carry shame the way that I used to because I'm like, who gives a fuck? But also the audience relates so heavily to moments where I used to feel ashamed that I'm
Mm.
like, well, ain't just me. Like
Yeah.
I'm definitely not alone. I think I could say so much about how this show has shifted my life, but that's really such a big part of it is realizing that I'm not the only person
Isn't that beautiful?
experiencing, yeah, the things that I'm experiencing.
Mm.
And the other part of it, and I go end with it, my answer to this question here, but this show has shown me that I have the capability of being consistent when I'm really passionate about something.
Hey,
Like,
Isa. Yes, I think you and I both needed that because
yep.
you got your diagnosis. I have not.
The ADHD girlies fucking know. We will get into something
Baby.
heavy, do
Okay.
that shit for a month, and I'd be like, "Mm,
And honestly, hey, Isa, we have been the most, even like, here's the thing, we've had our struggles. Me and Hey, Isa have had things that have
mhm,
gotten in the way of us being able to show up and record, but we have not stopped recording this podcast. Our
mm-mm."
breaks might be a little longer sometimes,
But we'd
right?
always come back.
But we always fucking come back. And I feel like
Yeah.
I don't see us not coming back, to be
I don't
honest.
see it either. I've told myself that I'm open to whatever the universe is going
Facts.
to come
Same.
with
Same.
because we may reach the point and I realistic about that. We may reach the point where we're like, okay, good up is not where we're headed. Like that's not what we want to do
Mhm.
next. But I know one thing is that our friendship is going to continue.
Exactly. I don't see like, and maybe that's the issue.
Yeah.
Maybe I keep seeing our friendship and the podcast is one and the same. So because I
Yeah.
don't see our friendship ending, I don't see the podcast ending.
No,
And the
honestly,
beauty
because we
is
love coming and talking to each
we
other like
do.
this.
It's because the thing is, it doesn't feel like a job. And I
Hmm.
think that's why I'm having a hard time seeing a potential end because it's like
Yeah.
I can do this forever with you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so even again, and if by chance we get to a season where we're like, you know what? Maybe that's it for the podcast, right? This fucking podcast is gonna live on forever because it's
Mm-hmm.
already out there. We can't
Yeah.
take it back. Even like Jay-Z said it, like I gonna live forever in these bars. We're gonna live
Yeah.
forever in this fucking podcast. The things that this podcast is doing for our little tiny community, it's gonna continue to spread. Think about like shit like Sister Sister. Sister Sister is still making an impact to this
Mm-hmm.
day. That's how our shit gonna be. Like,
Yeah.
I'm proud of
But
that.
I'm very proud of, and that's I think that's what I was trying to say is that like even if there is one day where you and I decide it's time for the
Mhm.
show to end, for us not to continue, I think we can look back on the last couple of years and know that we give that shit our all.
Yes.
We've grown over the
Mm-hmm.
course of the past couple of
That's
years. It's
yeah.
continued to get better. The episodes have gotten better. So like I feel really good about that as somebody who again has ADHD, tends
Mm-hmm.
to lose focus. I'll
Yes.
get into a hobby or something. Even content creating. I used to really love being a content creator and I don't do that as much anymore because I'm just not in
Yeah.
that place in my life.
Yeah.
But good up is the constant. It's always been a constant.
Yeah.
So that's been like a huge shift in my life. So yeah. Next question for you is what is the most memorable piece of feedback that you've received about the show?
Um, okay. Believe it or not, it wasn't so much like feedback per se. It was just somebody telling me that they listened to the show. And the reason why it was so memorable, it was because it was still really early on. I was still new to being a host on the show. I was in St. Thomas for it was a work opportunity. And I remember I was somewhere, but there was somebody who was friends with the person that I was working on the project with. And when they saw me, they said, "Are you the girl from?" And I don't remember if we had switched to Good Up or not yet, but she referenced the podcast. And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, and at this point, I was already living in Jersey. I was visiting the Virgin Islands. I was visiting St. Croix with my ex, and then I went to St. Thomas for the work opportunity. And then I was working on something. But anyway, I was introduced to somebody, and she was like, "I don't listen to your show, and I love it so much." And I was like, "Thank you." And it was very new for me for like a complete stranger to like recognize me. That was very new for me. And I was like, wow, like, but it was just so sweet the fact that she wanted to make that clear because she could have just not said nothing, but just the fact that
Exactly.
she took the time to share with me that she listens to the show and that she likes it. I don't even know if she still listens to the show, and I'm sorry I don't remember your name. But it meant a lot to me, and I keep it with me, and I plan to keep it with me forever because that was really
Yeah.
special to me. I was like, what the fuck? Like, it
Yeah.
was very nice of her. And then when
Yeah.
she was saying that to me, somebody else who she's close to like joined in on the conversation. And I was like, wow, people like really fuck with us. And that was special.
Every time I meet a listener in person, I'll be in shock. I'll be like, "Oh my God, you don't listen to the podcast?" They're like,
Yeah.
yeah. I've been
Hmm.
like home and my best friend, like this last time I was home, my best friend was like, "Yeah, this is her." And I was like, "Who the fuck he that over here telling,
Yeah.
about me?" And the
Yeah.
girl was like, "Oh, you's mama from Good Up." I
Love that.
was like, "Yeah."
I love that.
Even on Twitter, anytime I get on a space on Twitter, they'll be like, "Who's this? This mama from Good Up." They don't know my
Mama from
voice.
Good Up. I love that.
And it'll blow my mind that like people know my voice. So obviously every time somebody ever says something about the podcast, like I've cherished it. But I think the most memorable piece of like feedback that I've gotten about the show, um, was that guy who told us that he went to therapy and I've talked
Oh,
about it on the show
that means the
before.
world. I feel like you and I were like emotional. We were like crying
Yeah.
behind that shit. Like when you told me that, that shit brought tears to my eyes.
Because that's
Like
that's huge. That's
that's
huge
what we
for
do. That's what we're
somebody to
here
be
for.
like, you know what? I need to go walk on myself because of these
Hmm.
conversations.
Yeah.
That was huge. And actually, no, I lie. That was the best, I think, but the most memorable
Mhm.
was my mom listening to the first episode. And that when I tell her that lady she didn't cuss me out, but she tear my ass a new one. But
Damn.
it was memorable because I knew that even though she was upset, even though she felt some type of way, she heard me.
Mm.
And she now knew what I had to say. She knew
Yeah.
how I was feeling. Like that was big because I was like, I don't know that if I hadn't recorded that episode, that she would have ever
She would
found
ever
out.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. So despite how she felt, the fact that she listened and felt the need to respond, I was like, oh, you listened to the whole episode.
Oh,
Jesus
she listened to
Christ.
everything. She said, "Oh, I
Yeah, she
wonder,
listened to the first two.
I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but I even though I don't agree with a lot of our mother's methods, um, I don't know that I could ever say that I well, and to an extent I can empathize with some of their shit,
Mhm.
but I've certainly sympathize with them,
Yeah.
right? Because I couldn't imagine being in that position. I couldn't imagine being in that hot seat. I couldn't imagine
Yeah.
having to hear on a podcast, on like a form of media, basically,
Hmm.
the negative ways that I've impacted my Dylan. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how I don't know how I would manage, to be
Yeah.
honest. My
And
heart,
I think I have a lot of empathy for her in that respect
yeah,
because it would blow my mind, especially I would be wondering like, well, why didn't you just
come to me.
talk to me about it?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's
and I think her response answered that question was
yeah.
like, this is
Look at how you acting.
right. Look at how it's because the way you
It's
act.
the way you act.
It's the way you
No,
act.
legit, and that even like that episode planted a seed with me to make sure that I always create the space for Dylan to know he can come to me.
Hmm.
And even like he's
And for
getting
those of you who wondering, this is like episode one, season one, like
this was
the
season
first
one,
episode.
episode one. This was when it was the Beautiful People podcast, right?
Hmm.
This was before I was even a host on the show. But I it made me say, Deidre, make sure you, and I've always it's always been my philosophy and my practice to be very open with Dylan, to
Hmm.
not have super big reactions to things that he's scared to tell me. Because I don't want for my kid to be fucking 28 on a podcast, and that's the only place that he can say, this lady hugged me too much or didn't hug me enough, or I
Yeah.
never felt like, because one thing he not going, listen, me and my niece have this joke where we just say, if Dylan ever write, if Dylan become a rapper and say anything about having a hard life, we're
Are
gonna
we
have
fighting
a
his
diss track
ass?
with him. We're gonna have a
We
diss track
fighting
waiting for
him.
he. So one thing that little mother's gonna thing or never be able to say is he had enough hugs. Okay?
Yep.
That's it. Y'all just understand. But regardless, whatever the thing is, right? It might be he might be like, yo, that lady, I think she liked her job more than she liked me. He might be like rapping like Jay-Z, you know? At 33, I would love my work more than and he has said that to me. And even that, it made me feel so good to know that he could say
He
it.
felt he could, yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't outwardly say, but I asked him, I said, hey, do you feel like my work is more important? And I said, I don't remember how I posed the question, but he pretty much said, like, I feel like you like working more than like doing stuff with me or something along those lines. And I was like, oh, let me be more intentional about, but I don't want him to be in his late 20s. I don't want that little motherfucker going through his Saturn return. And then I
Hmm.
find out then that he thought I was a fucking workaholic who only cared about my job. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Whatever the thing is, right? Because the thing about parenthood is you also have to prepare yourself. There's always going to be a thing that you could have done
Hmm.
better, and your children gonna have them feelings. And
Yeah. And I think I appreciate her for reaching out to me after listening to that, despite the heavy emotions that
yeah, that
she
was
was
big.
feeling. And it may not have resolved everything, but it's a memorable piece of feedback because
Hmm.
it was like the first reaction to the
Yeah,
show, you know? So
yeah.
that was memorable.
Before you
So
continue, I'm
mhm.
so sorry, and this is so unrelated, and if you need to cut it out, you can. I love your setup right now. Like, I'm so fucking obsessed. This blue light, your shirt, it looks really good on your skin. Like,
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Your plants
And if
is
you're a
just,
Patreon, you can see it.
yeah, if you're on Patreon, you could see what I'm seeing, but it's just so fucking fire. Like,
Yeah, I
I
never
keep
tried a
looking.
blue light, and I'm like, fuck it, I'll try the blue
No,
light today.
I
I like it.
like it. It looks so and you know what it is? Like the blue light is bouncing off like the white curtains, and it
Yeah,
just and I think your complexion is also really like it's just fire.
yeah. I feel
Okay.
like blue is definitely my color. Like light
Yeah.
blues. I don't know. But anyway,
Sorry. I'm so
so
sorry.
you're
Shout
okay.
out to our 100th episode, child.
We don't do this all the time.
We do.
So we've had over 40 guests on the show.
Wow.
And I gonna ask you a really difficult question. Do you have a favorite or a top three?
Okay, that's better.
I had to the when I write out the question, I was like, did you gonna cuss me if I said favorite?
Thank you for because that's crazy. A favorite guest is crazy. Okay, top three. I think that including Diamond would be a conflict of interest. So
Damn.
yeah, I want to include Diamond, but Diamond is a recurring guest and she's also my roommate. So I think that would
Yeah.
be really unfair to the
Diamond
people.
low-key just like a part of the team.
Yeah, Diamond is
But
our manager.
if
Like,
I
yeah,
want I want it to be stated, if I could choose a favorite guest, it would be Diamond. But
same. Yeah, but for this, like, it would
yeah,
be kind of wild, like
yeah.
Dylan
Let's
already come
let's
like,
take Beyonce out of the running.
let's thank you. Okay. So, um, Derek is definitely my top three. Did I say her name correctly?
Derek.
Oh, it's Derek. I don't know why I
Hmm.
said Derek. Okay, Derek. I'm sorry. I don't know what. I'm sorry. Okay. Definitely Derek. Top three. And then this is in no particular order
And
either.
Derek was on Let's Talk About Transphobia, if anybody is
Yes.
curious about that episode.
Hands down. I think for many reasons. One, because that was a very vulnerable space to be in.
Hmm.
Um, she's navigating something so big that not many people will ever be able to relate to. She trusted us. She trusted us with that
Hmm.
conversation. And for that, I'll be forever
And I
grateful.
think we were her first podcast interview too.
Yeah. And that's why I'm so like, wow, like
You
we
know, I don't know if the episode already came out, but she was on Therapy for Black Girls. Yeah, after our show,
what?
she was on Therapy for Black Girls. It
Oh,
was so cool.
what a
Yeah.
fucking flex. I love her. Okay, but anyway, carrying back to to answering the question. But I think that I don't know that I've ever met somebody as gracious as Derek.
Mm.
I think, and the only word I could think of is like, she's very graceful.
Hmm.
She was so patient with us. And I'm so grateful that in those moments where you and I said things
So
that
like we were stumbling and
we were
yeah.
stumbling, or there were even things that were said that was said out of ignorance, because ignorance is the appropriate word. We didn't know
Hmm.
any better. She took the moment in that like she took the opportunity in the moment to give us the better language to correct. She really was just
Hmm.
so gracious with us, and for one, she didn't have to be, but
Yeah.
she was. Like she literally didn't have to, because we're grown ass women and we can do our research, but she was just so gracious. Even in me, like I remember there were points where my anger would get the better of me. And I'm just like, nah, fuck anybody who's claiming to be pro-black but got some fucked up shit to say about our the queer members of the black community. And she just was so great. I remember her saying to me, like, those people are not pro-black. Like, I just was like, who are you? She's
Hmm.
a fucking angel. So for
Yeah.
sure, she's
So
definitely in the
smart, so like
so
well spoken,
just so
just have so
patient.
much wisdom. That's the word I looking for.
So
So
yes,
wise.
she's very wise, and I
Yeah.
just the amount of love she has for a group of people who don't treat her the way she deserves to be treated,
Hmm.
it's godlike. I'm gonna just
Yeah.
be frank. I'm sorry. She's close. Y'all, listen, the Christians about to be mad at me, but it's Christ-like. I don't
No,
know.
and I yeah,
She
that's a
has a
good.
level yeah, she has a level of compassion for people who mistreat her that some of y'all motherfuckers don't deserve. I don't know how else to put it. So she's absolutely up there, top three for sure. Dr. Gilmore, what season was that even that she came in on?
That had to be season 4, and I want to say the episode was something just like let's talk about therapy.
Yeah, it was such a
Misha was also on that
Misha was on.
one.
So here's the thing, that episode remains in like my top five, top 10, top three. It's always gonna be in a top whatever. One, because I'm so glad we were able to bring therapy. That I think that's when we really were bringing therapy to the
Mm-hmm.
show. But we brought a fucking licensed therapist, and we also
Mm-hmm.
brought somebody with diagnoses. I don't know if I properly pluralized that word. Regardless, because
Mm-hmm.
I remember that episode. We were pretty much covering people's misuse of certain mental
Mm-hmm.
illnesses,
Yeah.
and it was a very informative episode. It's an episode that I'm very proud of. But Dr. Gilmore, she's our next one. It's just something about her energy. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
she's so brilliant. She's
You
so
know, I met her in person.
Ah!
Yeah.
Really?
I went to
She looked like she
homecoming.
smelled good.
She does. I went to homecoming last year. No,
Mm-hmm.
not 2023, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And she I don't think she went to Prairie View, but she's connected to Prairie View. So she was at
Yeah.
homecoming. And I
Yeah.
was drunk and I walking
Ah.
along tailgate and this lady comes up to me and is like, "Hi, hey Isa." And I look at her and I was like, "Hi." And then she was like, "You don't remember me, do you?" And I was like, "I'm kind of drunk." So and she was like, "Dr. Gilmer." I was like, but she was so happy
Ugh,
to see me.
I
And like, yeah, she's
love
great.
I loved having her on the podcast.
Yeah.
Actually, Dr. Gilmore hit us up. I kind of want you back on the show.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
no, I'll reach out to her for sure. Like
Yeah.
I do love her.
Yeah, I really liked her. Um, okay. This may also be this may be a conflict of interest, but it's less of a conflict of interest than Diamond. My what's the Spanish word for husband? Esposo?
Esposo?
I'm
You
esposa.
talking about Ludens?
Yes,
Of course. Ludens been on the
Ludens.
show, what, 4 times
He's been
now?
on the show multiple times, but Ludens brings a perspective that I'm so grateful for. It's always nice to have male perspective, but
Hmm.
Ludens is one of the few emotionally intelligent men that I know. So,
The way Deidre just stopped and stared at the fucking camera was like, "Fight me."
and that's literally what that was, baby. I spent a lot of time in the gym. Let's go. Okay. Okay.
So Derek, Dr. Gilmore,
Ludens.
Ludens.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
My three, hands down easy for
And
me.
again, in no particular order.
In no particular order.
Because I don't want Ludens to deny me my Beyonce tickets or like my favorite meal or something because we married or whatever.
In no particular order. Oh my God, this is actually hard though. But
It's really
Aniska.
hard. Oh, I have
Um,
such a girl crush on Aniska.
I mean,
She's just
can we
so
can we just put out there, Aniska? I don't know if you listened to this episode, but
it's
in
just
my mind,
something.
use my woman. Like
Aniska has this energy that's just I remember the first
she's
time like
so
she
regal. She's
she's
so
so
well
regal.
spoken.
Like,
She's so intelligent. Like,
she's just such like I don't know. She just floats. Her
yeah.
energy, she just floats. Like
Yeah.
I'm like,
Everything that'll come out of this woman's mouth, I'll be like, yeah. Exactly. Like I love hearing her talk. And it's
yes.
not just
It's like
because she's also my girl crush. It's just because I like hearing her talk. Like
yeah, it's just something about like she speaks so she's got like a very even she's just I don't know. She just
when I was working with the Miss Universe franchise, right?
mhm.
And Aniska was our reigning queen. When she went to Thailand, the one thing that I was never worried about was
Mm,
Aniska getting a mic in front of she.
mm.
Every time they used to interview her, I used to be like, let me listen to what this bitch had to say because I know she killed that shit. Like
Yeah, she is
I love
so
having her on the show. Love
yeah.
hearing her talk.
She's so well
So
spoken, just
yeah.
everything. Oh,
So she's
yeah.
one. My next one is technically two combined, but Andre and Malcolm, when they came on the show
Okay,
for
yeah.
the Boys Don't Cry episode, I really enjoyed that episode, and I've wanted to kind of continue talking to them since or like recreate it. Like I want them to come back on the show.
Yeah.
Um, it was just such an important conversation.
It really was.
And they genuinely are like two of the funniest people I know. So
Mhm.
I did love having them on the show. Um, next, it hard because Ludens he's definitely up there. Like, and for the same reason as Aniska, and that's just why we friends. So I love hearing Ludens talk. I love to hear Ludens talk. And he's so emotionally intelligent. He has so much to share. He's just so insightful.
Yeah.
Um, so I really love listening to him. And I know we said to choose three, but I think if I could fit another one in, Gabrielle would be up there
Oh, I do like Gabrielle. Oh, yeah.
because and these
She's
are
the next one I could
people.
listen to her talk all day.
Yeah, and
Her,
if you
Ludens,
notice,
yeah.
yeah, that's the trend is people that I genuinely sat there in awe of, people that I love to
Yes.
listen to, people who have
Yes. They're
so much
interesting
insight.
people.
Yeah. So
They're
if you're
beautiful
wondering how come
people.
Good Up and come here to be a guest on the show, it's probably because you don't fit the bill.
No, honest. So here's the thing.
I just
I'm glad you because the thing that all those people have in common is I can listen to them speak all
for
day.
days. They
But
have so much to share.
And I'm gonna just say this: so this is again because Ludens has been a guest on this show for more than one season. I remember, wasn't
That's
he
your
in like
man.
that's first hello? Wasn't he in like the second or third
He
episode of season one?
he was on like episode 7, but he was on the first season.
Yeah,
He was on an episode about colorism, so technically two because that was a two-part episode.
yeah,
He came back on to talk about the best friend episode,
yes,
and then he was recently on our
yeah.
body image episode. So
But before I knew who Ludens was or anything, back when I was a listener of the show, I remember the very first time Ludens was a guest, and I remember being so enamored with the sound of his voice. I was like, "Who is this man?" Like, listen to him speak
and
all
I
day.
know a get man out there that'll be like, wait, is about Ludens to get all these women falling and they need is you ain't get drip like that, Papa.
You
And maybe you
don't.
should be studying Ludens and how
Ludens is
Ludens
so,
talks to women.
yeah. You know what is how Ludens does talk to women. I remember the way he described his mother. I remember he's just very gentle and not like, and but he also his voice is so deep and commanding too. I'm like, man. Well,
Anyway,
yeah, this is becoming a Ludens stan account.
no,
That's crazy to me.
this mind you, this our 100 episode. We celebrated but we didn't hear gassing Ludens,
Gas
and
in the fuck,
I know Ludens listening, and Ludens probably smiling from ear to ear. But
ear to
Papa,
ear.
you on there on the top guest
Ludens,
list.
if you like my outfit, DM me a honeypot emoji, a bumblebee emoji, and your favorite emoji. Them three things. Because I know Ludens is a picture.
Oh my gosh! All right,
I'm done. I'm done. This is the last episode of this season where I'm gonna be flirting with Ludens on the airwaves.
it's
I don't.
not, and that's fine. I support this marriage. The other day I was on Facebook asking them for churn and shit. But anyway, so flipping the script a little bit, what episode has been the most difficult for you to record?
The grooming episode.
Mm,
The grooming episode. There were others, but I feel like I would have to say that one because the thing is I was an adult in that experience, but it doesn't make it any less like problematic.
yeah, and you were
Um,
still
I was very young.
recovering, like
I was
when
still
we
recovering.
recorded the episode.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
still recovering. And I feel like that was a separate episode than the abuse episode, right? But those episodes
Mm,
were difficult because those were things that I thought I had moved past, and I realized during the recording that I had not moved past them. So, um, I had to recover from recording those episodes, if that makes
mm,
sense. Like in the moment, I recognized like, holy shit, I still have a lot of work to do on this, and so I had to take like a day or two after recording to just feel my feelings and nurture my inner child and all that shit. Um, but hands down those. And the thing that makes it worth it though is because those episodes, especially the grooming episode, and that's probably one of the episodes that means the most to me because it does it means a lot to our community and its conversations, and that's the thing that me and Hey Eyes pride ourselves on with this show is having conversations that need to be had that people are too scared to have.
yeah.
And grooming, hands down, grooming, anything related to sexual misconduct, anything related to assault, anything in that spectrum, that realm, those are conversations that have to be had, especially in our community. As we
Mhm.
speak, there's a lot of discourse around some sort of a situation regarding a sex tape, somebody who was a minor at the time that the tape was made, um, the man, people not taking it seriously enough. And this is why me and Hayes have these kinds of conversations. So even when those conversations are difficult, for
Yeah.
me, I'm gonna still have them because I'm just like, I already went through the thing. I've been doing a lot of work to get past it. I'm still doing a lot of work. But if I'm able, I would rather talk about those things and help somebody else, use my situation to help somebody else. Because some people are going through those things and don't even realize it. And it takes us opening up about our shit. It takes us making the kind of progress we've made for somebody else to be like, oh shit, this is what I'm dealing with. Like, I'm not alone, right? Because
Mhm.
you said it earlier. Like, there's so many things that we've opened up about that helped us realize, like, I'm not the only person that's gone through or is going through this shit. So
Yeah.
that was, whew, yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna have to be done. How about,
I remember that being heavy.
yeah.
So yeah, just know that like whenever we come on here and we talk about certain topics, like we talk about them and it sounds easy because we get it out and all of that, but
Mm-hmm.
like there's care that we have to do after we do these
Mm-hmm.
episodes sometimes because they are
Yeah.
heavy.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm so sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but
no, you're fine.
conversation, especially like grooming and just anything related to my relationship with Dylan's dad. Those anytime those things have to come up, it's particularly difficult because the reality is I have a child with this man,
Mm-hmm.
right? And at some point, I have to prepare myself for what those conversations with Dylan is gonna look like.
Mm-hmm.
I've already forgiven Dylan's dad for the shit that I've been through in that relationship. I've already forgiven myself for even being in that relationship. But I have to prepare to face Dylan at some
Mm-hmm.
point. I don't know if Dylan's ever going to listen to the show. I honestly hope he never listens to this shit, to be honest. But if at any point in Dylan's life he comes across this content, I have to be prepared to have those conversations with him.
Mm-hmm.
If he comes across this content, I pray that I am alive in human form to have those conversations with him. My biggest fear is Dylan coming across this content and I'm already long gone. You know what I
Mm.
mean? But regardless, it's a lot that has to go into some of these conversations, but I
Yeah,
refuse to stay silent because I have to do my part to make sure women, girls, boys, anybody, I have to do my part to make sure that generations after me don't have the fucked up experiences that we had. And some of that is
exactly.
going to be talking about my fucked up shit. Like,
Yeah.
it is what it is, but I'm sorry. I just had to get that out there.
No, that's definitely fair. If I have kids and they listen to this show, like they're gonna probably be like, Jesus Christ, mommy. But they're gonna also be like, yo, I know so much about my mother based on this show.
Yes.
And I would be proud of that for sure.
Hmm.
But in terms of most difficult episodes, I think the second episode of the show, first season where I talked about my experience with sexual assault was hands down one of the most difficult. And it was hard because I had never really like talked about it at length
Hmm.
before.
Hmm.
And I remember having a hard time trying to figure out how to go about the episode. So for those of you who don't know, I literally hit record and I just was talking. Like I didn't have a
Really?
plan, I didn't have an outline. I was like, I can't do this
Hmm.
if I don't hit record. Because
Yeah.
I would hit record, I would start talking and I would be like, oh, I just don't feel right. I would stop.
Hmm.
I probably took like 3 to 4 hours to record that
Oh,
episode. It's one of the
wow.
shortest we've had.
Hmm.
But it was because it was so difficult for me to talk about.
Hmm.
But I was like, I gonna put it out there. It is what it is. I've never gone back and listened to that episode.
Mm.
I recorded it, I put it up, I didn't listen to it.
Oh,
People have
wow.
messaged me saying, thank you for doing this. This was important. But just know from the time I record that episode, the next time I actually spoke about being sexually assaulted at length and in detail was in therapy this year.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's what it was difficult because I don't think I were actually ready
Hmm.
to talk about it yet. I just
Yeah.
wanted to try.
Yeah.
And I also had I don't know if I could call it PTSD. I was insecure about talking about my sexual assault because I remember there was a time in high school where a friend came to me and said, I had basically confided in one of my friends about my experience with sexual assault, not in detail, just that I had been.
Hmm.
And that friend went to another person and implied that they believed I was lying about it. And the person came to
What?
me and was like, yeah, this person said that they don't know for sure if you like they feel like you might not be telling the truth about it. So when I recorded it in the back of my mind, I was like, damn, what if I record this and people listening to it and they're like, this bitch is lying. So that's why it
And
was hard.
yeah.
Like that's a big part of why it was hard, but also just like I was exposing myself. Like
Yeah.
I was out here telling all my business. Like
Yeah.
the week after I just air out my mother.
I
So it was
know. And
crazy.
you know the fucked up thing is a lot of times those people, well, for one, the most of the time people who think that somebody's lying about something like that is just a shit person, right? But
Yeah.
there's a small demographic of people who believe that it should be hard for you to talk about that. So if it just comes out so coolly or casually, then did it really happen? And the thing is for one, if you've done enough work on something, the better you get, the easier it gets to talk about certain things.
Hmm.
That's number one. But a lot of people don't realize that. In
Yeah.
some people's mind, when something that atrocious happens to you, it should choke you up. eat you up. It should be
Yeah.
really difficult for the information to come out. And it's like, you don't know the process and the steps that that person had to take to get to the point where they're able to just let the words come out.
Yeah, and you also don't know how a person will mask
Uh,
because for me,
exactly.
9 times out of 10, if you listen to this podcast and we talking about something difficult, I cussing, I like
Mm,
making jokes, so I
I
being
joke.
very like
Yeah.
raw
I have a tendency to
because
joke and be dismissive when I'm,
if I start
yeah.
to get uncomfortable, then I'll be like, man, fuck this. Da, 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 da. Like
Yeah.
that's my shield is me being this like loud, boisterous person. So I
Mm-hmm.
think sometimes people saw that and would assume like, oh, well, she's not really impacted by it, but I really
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Another episode like that, believe it or not, was the things we learned from our exes. Um,
Mm.
I've spoken to people about that ex before, but doing it on a podcast felt he was always like this big secret. He was
Mm.
always this like big shame that I kind of kept to myself of like,
Mm-hmm.
damn, this person bust the fuck out my chest repeating. And something about putting it on a podcast kind of cemented that that part of my life was done with. Like
Mm-hmm.
I could talk about it now because I've moved on. I
Yes.
remember after that episode feeling so like, oh my God, like, ugh, like it wasn't hard per
Mhm.
se, but I felt that it was a lot of emotions surrounding
Yeah.
recording that episode. So
Mm.
definitely up there in terms of most difficult.
Yeah.
So last question before we wrap up. What do you think this show has done for our relationship with each other?
You know what? I think it's done a lot of things. I mean, naturally, obviously, the obvious answer is it's brought us a lot closer together, right? But I think it's made us, because I think you and I both have our own anxieties, and us conducting business together has been and continues to help us heal those anxieties. Um, I think for you, it's helping to ease your mind in that, like, if you don't get an immediate response, it doesn't mean that I'm not even just me, just anybody. It doesn't mean that the person that I'm texting is mad at me or anything. They just might
Yeah,
be in the middle of something. You know what I mean?
for
It just might,
sure.
yeah, they just might not be in a position to respond, and it doesn't mean anything. In my case, it's actually making me speak up more.
Mm-hmm.
So even like, and a good example would be this morning when we were texting about the story and how
Mm-hmm.
we were rolling out the promo. Um and but also it's helping me to be more reflective and realize that I really don't give enough information. I reckon.
It was funny. I was like, yo, tell me that.
And the thing was, with in my mind I did, right? But all I said was I'm gonna promote it soon.
I was
That's
like,
enough
when, where, what time?
information. So, I genuinely realize like so what it's doing is it's helping us in our individual like personal
Mhm.
development journey, because I think
Yeah.
professionally, I think you and I are very professional people.
Mm-hmm.
And I
But
think
we're
that our
also very, I don't know about you. I'm so independent. I'm
yes, we're
so,
both very we both have our version, our independence shows up differently, but we're both
mhm.
very independent, but we're
Yeah.
also very professional.
Yeah.
So our professionalism and our independent, like our professionalism is helping us to recognize certain personal
Hmm.
development opportunities, right? Especially
Yeah.
regarding our communication. And again, I'm an introvert. Hey, as an extrovert. And if you are an introvert, correct me. But hey, Isa, she's a go-getter. She goes after things, right? And she does things. So like I referenced this morning because there was a time I wouldn't have said anything. I would have just moved on and been like, oh, I guess, we're gonna just do it this way. Whereas instead, I was like, wait, this was the plan. Like, but I recognize I could have done a better job communicating that plan to you. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? So as far as you're concerned, like, oh, when are we gonna promote this? What's happening? So you just took the plunge and did it. There was a time where you making the post, I would have just moved on and been like, whatever, like,
Mm.
whereas now I'm like, oh no, wait, like this was
So I was like, no, I'll take it down. I want you to do it. And I think that goes to show how much like you said we've developed individually,
Mhm,
but I also think that us developing our friendship in the last couple of years at a
mhm.
show, we care about each other so much that we want the
Yes.
business side of things to work, so we
Yes.
take the extra time, I think, to understand each other on the business side
Yes.
so that it doesn't create problems. Like a lot of people will be like,
Yes.
I don't know how I have been working together for this long, but it's
It's because
because
of that.
we take extra time to be like, oh, hey, by the way, when I did this, I will overstep in. I'm sorry. Like, check me when I do this. Let me know
Right.
when I'm
And
doing that.
yes, and in my case, sometimes I don't step out far enough, right? Like I
Mm.
should have clearly laid out the plan and the objective.
How you know me? I need bullet points.
Yeah,
I need
but that's also, and that's why I kept saying it's also helping me to develop more personally, right?
Mhm.
To be more transparent. Because I'm recognizing like, yo, you vague as fuck, Deidre. Like, because when I like emphasize the message that I was referencing when I told you, like, I already told you I was gonna promote it, I also was like, oh, that's not enough information, Deidre.
but also like you've shown me so much about setting boundaries, like asking for what I need, not being like you said, I used to be so anxious about pissing people off
Yeah.
with the smallest like conversation.
Hmm.
But you've always reassured me, like, no, tell me exactly what it
What
is
you
you
need.
need. Like,
And
tell me this and that. And I'm just
yeah.
like, okay,
And I can
I'll
always,
tell
it's so
you.
funny. I can tell even in your text messages when you feel like you're asking for too much. I notice that I always say, you're not asking for too much. That's a very
Yeah.
reasonable
You're
request.
like that. You're fine. It's okay.
Yeah,
I'll be
one of
like,
my
okay,
favorite things to tell Hey Isa is that's a very reasonable request.
yeah,
Like,
I
I'm not.
listen. But also you to check me because one thing about me is I've always been, like I said, independent, self-sufficient.
Mhm.
In my work life, I'm very much the person who I gotta get everything done. It's always left up to me.
Mhm.
And in this relationship, I've had to learn
Mhm.
how to let the fuck go.
Yeah.
And it hasn't always been easy. And we've had our moments where you're like, hey, Isa, I just waiting for you to let go. Like, I'm waiting for you to give me more to do.
Yeah.
And I've had to be like, okay. And it comes with anxiety. It comes with me
Yeah.
being like, okay, yes, do this. But, and you so patient with me
Yeah.
while I try to like adjust to that dynamic. Um, but I think again, if we didn't have this like good, respectful friendship, that's not, we
Yeah,
would
it's
have
true.
issues because of that.
It's true. If we
Um,
weren't actual friends and we didn't care about the friendship,
yeah,
I think those things would cause clashes as
yeah,
opposed to like growth, if that
yeah.
makes sense. So,
Well, with all of that said, we have so much to celebrate. I am so excited about 100 episodes. Not even on some like, oh, look how far we've come with the podcast, but just look at what we've created. To
yeah.
have 100 episodes of an hour or more of us talking about so many different things is
Yeah. It's
like
wild. And we just
it's
keep showing up.
crazy.
And not only do we keep showing up, right? Because we could just be sitting here talking and nobody listens, but y'all keep showing up.
Hmm.
That's what's sending me. I saw an email today. We got a new patron, and I'm like, people really fuck with us. Like,
Yeah.
thank y'all. Like, what?
So thank you for
Thank
continuing
you
to support the
guys.
show. For our 100th episode, I would like y'all to post on social media and
Hmm.
talk about something that you've learned from Good Up, something that you've discovered through listening to the show. So tag us on
Ooh.
Twitter at Good Up Pod, on Instagram at Good Up Pod, Facebook at Good Up, or DM us privately if you want to share it privately. But I want to know what this show has done to impact you and
Yes.
your life. And with that being said, thank you to everyone for listening. Deidre, for the 100th time, tell the people them bye.
Bye.
The Good Up podcast is sponsored by the Virgin Islands Lottery. This podcast is Virgin Islands hosted and produced by Deidre Ritter and Heiza Quinones Ivory. Follow us on all social media platforms at Good Up Pod. Join the VIP section over at patreon.com/gooduppodcast and get access to exclusive bonus content, or visit our website and read more about our episodes at goodupvi.com. This season of the Good Up podcast is proud to be sponsored by Empath Psychological Services, The Blend Collective, and Greater Changes.